Hello and welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Oak City Tech gives their clients an edge over their competition with web and logo design that make them stand out in the industry. They increase brand awareness and generate leads with SEO and social media presence, and then convert those leads into clients with content creation and email marketing. Founded in Raleigh in 2009, Oak City Tech works with businesses, organizations, and brands around the country. So go to oakcitytech.com to see how they can help you grow. Tell Drago we said hi and we sent you from Triangle BNI, and they will help you grow your business. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning, and each week we bring you wonderful small business success stories from Triangle BNI. BNI is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. And our guest today is a contemporary artist, Dan Campbell, with dancambellart.com. Dan, you are the first contemporary artist on the show.
Hallelujah.
We are glad to have you here today.
That's great, man.
This is different for me because a lot of the guests we have are technical. We're working in charts and spreadsheets and all that stuff. And we got the ultimate blank canvas today to talk about.
Yay.
Dan is in RD29. That's Vis-a-Vis chapter. They meet Thursday mornings at 7:30 a.m. at Hope Community Church on Buck Jones Road. If you are an early riser, this is one of the great places to come out. You will be entertained, to say the least. Dan has been the educational coordinator for a while, which is good because in every chapter meeting, there's some nuggets to land on the members on how they can help the chapter grow and grow their business. And Dan is very good at that. But we're talking painting today. I love your backstory. Most people figure creative types, painters, but you came from the corporate world, which I love the transition because one day, of course, you've always been doodling, love comic books and all that stuff. But one day you just said, you know what? Enough, right?
Yeah. It was, I guess it happens for a lot of people in their mid 50s. You sort of have this wake up call that, hey, you're not going to live forever.
Yeah.
And you start looking at your life from outside your person, from 10,000 feet, so to say. And in my mid 50s, 56 years old, I had lost a consulting contract and I was home licking my wounds. And all of a sudden, I asked myself the proverbial question, if I could do anything I wanted to do, what would it be? And I was at a place in my life where I could ask that question economically. And my wife, who was a great support of me, and she's got the corporate job still. She's still working. And
you push back her retirement so you can enjoy painting, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but I was able to ask myself that question freely, and it was like a lightning strike.
A lot of people I work with and deal with, we go back to high school, middle school. There's always something chirping at us. Like, again, back to your point, if money didn't matter, what would we all pick and choose to do? So up until that time when you decided to make that decision, had it always been talking to you and saying, hey, Dan, don't forget about us. We're here. You know, you love doing this.
Yeah, it was a latent thing. As you mentioned, as a boy, I loved art, and it was an escape for me. And I drew a lot. Comic books drew me into that world because I loved the vibrant colors. And I started doing watercolors and pastels and experimenting with stuff. And in college, I actually majored in commercial art for a couple of years. Before I realized that at that particular time in my life, I wasn't drawn to doing art for someone else, like working in someone else's studio.
Okay.
And so I completely switched gears, and that got me going. I actually ended up getting my BS in education at George Mason University, and I was going to be a teacher and a basketball coach.
There you go.
So we go through these eras in our life where we think we know what we want to do, but it's so hard for a young person to figure that out. And I had a buddy that said, why do you want to be a basketball coach? And I went through the litany of things that, why I wanted. And he said, well, I'm on the road for 80 hours a week and I make $13,000 a year. So I switched gears again. And I just got really fortunate, was in the right place at the right time, and learned about the health and fitness industry, which back in the early 80s, late 70s was just absolutely exploding. And I got a job in a local big sports club. And
Was this here?
no, it was in Northern Virginia,
Okay.
and where we grew up.
Mhm.
And I had a great mentor, Mitch Wald. If you're listening to this broadcast, he made a big difference in my life, and ended up working with that organization for 10 years. And it was eventually the industry that brought us to North Carolina.
Okay.
And so then I worked a little bit longer in that industry here, went into the corporate side of it, and helping to design sports clubs and the whole 9 yards. And so for 25 years, I was working directly in the health and sports club industry, and then consulted for a good while after that, and did some other entrepreneurial things, consulting. And then all of a sudden it was like, I'm not doing what
Mm.
my soul needs to be doing.
In
And money did matter, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't just
it
like, let me
factors
go,
in.
let
Yep.
me don't, I
Yeah.
just didn't want to go off and do a hobby.
Yeah, because you're going
Um,
from a nice paid job to straight commission
Right.
in something completely different where
That's right.
you had no brand out there yet.
That's right.
So back in the heyday of the corporate world was good for you.
Yeah.
You enjoyed that, right place, right time.
Yeah, it was a good job. It wasn't a job like it was like the passion of your
Yeah.
life,
Yep.
but it was something that you like to do. I had a positive experience with that.
What kind of designing, when you talk about designing these fitness centers and gyms, what was your role in that?
Well, I was usually the VP of marketing or marketing and sales, and so I interfaced with the CEO, the chief operating officers of these
Okay.
organizations. So we were sitting down together. I've also worked with a few organizations that they brought me in for the design part of it as a consultant. But so it was actually designing spatially,
Okay.
how the club would flow, what components it would have,
You enjoyed that part
et
of it?
cetera. Absolutely. There was a spatial design component in there that connected to art in a way.
Yes.
And then I was always connected to the advertising side of the business and working on how images and logos and advertising looked for in business. So I was able to use
Okay.
some of my creative skills in that respect, but it wasn't
Yeah.
pure enough for me.
I always like to go back at our age, looking back, and when my brother and sister and I sit down every now and then trying to figure out what genes we got passed down from our parents. Like my mom gave me the wake up early gene, which I love. I was up at 4. I think I woke up at 4:22 this
I
morning.
think she gave me that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's my creative time. Who gave you that spatial relations artistic gene?
Man, that is a great question. Because I don't know that my mom or my dad, either one, had it.
Okay.
And grandparents too far removed to know. So I don't know. I literally don't know the answer to that question, but I've been influenced by so many artists over the years. I was really into the modern side of art. I've always had this little bit of a modern, contemporary approach to things and fashion and all of that
Yeah.
stuff the same way. You wouldn't know it by the way I'm dressed, but
You're killer at an 80s redo party, right? I mean, you could pull off that look, right?
right, maybe more 70s.
70s.
But so, as I said, comic books, I say this a lot, for young boys, looking up to heroes.
Yeah.
And it just so happened in my case, the colors just jumped off the page, and I started drawing these characters.
Did somebody buy you one just out of the blue one day as best you can remember, or did you ask for it?
Well, we moved around a lot when I was very young. And I remember specifically in the 6th grade, we were in Brownsville, Texas at the time.
I've
My
been there.
my
Yep.
grandparents lived there. And I would mow my grandparents' yard for 10 cents.
You cut a
And
mean deal,
yeah,
sir.
this is a long time ago. But granddad would pay
Was
me.
it the rotary blade with no gas and all that?
Oh,
Was it
yeah.
the old?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
God,
Oh,
I
yeah.
used one day. Those are
And
awful.
yeah, scorpions in the yard and all kinds of crap down there. But I would mow the lawn, get the dime, and the first thing I would do is go down to the local dime store and look for the next comic book I could buy.
Which ones?
And
where'd your eye gravitate to? And why?
Batman, the Flash, Wonder Woman, all those DC and Marvel characters. Green Lantern, the Justice League,
Yeah.
all of these dudes,
You couldn't cut enough lawns to buy all those quick
no,
enough,
but
could
every
you?
week
Yeah.
I would say, "Granddad, is it time to cut the lawn?" He thought I was this aspiring, hardworking kid, and I just wanted the comic book. So yeah, that's I was some of my first memories of really starting to get comic
Yeah.
books, and then just being so attracted to
Was it
all
the
the vibrant color.
story or the art that jumped off the
It was
pages?
probably both.
Okay.
It was probably both. I was a young kid without a dad in my life, because mom and dad had broken up way early in my
Yeah.
life, and dad was married 5 times, mom was married 3 times,
Oh,
and so I didn't have a father figure other than occasionally my
yeah.
grandfather, and we didn't live there that long.
Okay.
And so I was a young kid looking for heroes, and so I think the heroes drew me in,
Yeah.
but the art just absolutely snagged me,
Would
and
you then, when you brought that book home, would you then try to redraw that picture?
yeah,
Okay.
that's what started happening. Then I started asking for pencils and colored pencils and
Uh,
markers and stuff to be able to start drawing, and then I really kept all that up through high school, um and that's what led me to sort of trying commercial art when I was in
yeah.
college. So,
Did your classes, the creative classes, did your grades in those classes reflect your interest in creativity, or were you good in math and kind of everything?
no, I was not good at everything, but yeah, art, I kept getting positive feedback
Yeah.
in that arena. My teachers would say, "Oh, yeah, this is," they'd give me a grade on something that we did, a project, and I would go, "Hey, maybe I can't, maybe this is one of my skills."
Yeah.
I was decent at math, but we moved around so much that, I'd start in algebra and end up in algebra 2 when I got to the next school. I'm like,
Wait
"What's
a
that
minute.
about?"
Were
So,
you a doodler as well
oh yeah.
in school? Did
Oh
they always,
yeah.
Dan, up here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I never understood why the teacher had a problem with my drawing, and then she said, "Dan, it's math class." Yeah.
We are here with Dan Campbell, modern art. I always want to say modern art by Dan, but
Yeah,
it's Dan Campbell Art,
yep.
dancambleart.com. Amnon, if you could throw up the first, I'm going to go to the wildfire picture just to give you the breadth of talent that Dan has and all kinds of things he can paint. If you go to dancambleart.com, you'll see a great variety of the work he does. They can call you and should call you for a commissioned piece,
Sure.
which would be nice because we're going to talk about your grandkids you want to take care of. So it's always good to get that fee for a commissioned piece, but they can also get a copy of something if they like.
Sure. I do original paintings and I do acrylic. Ride
Yeah.
Like the Wind is the name of this one. And this is an acrylic piece, but I also do oil
Yeah.
piece. And, a lot of it is very textural, especially when I do the acrylic work. It's very textural. I've always liked that sort of a slight three-dimensional bent to it. And, and again, you could almost look at a lot of my work and see comic books.
Yes.
If you were
Okay.
so inclined and were familiar, you'd see really vibrant color, lots of darks and lights, a lot of contrast in my work.
And you also are a singer. You also dabble in songwriting.
Mhm.
For an artist and a singer, do you just see something one day and go, "That's my next painting," or an image or hear something? Because I know they're jumping in your head all the time, right?
Yeah, the fortunate thing for me is how much I do actually love music,
Oh, it's huge, huge
and
impact on your life. Yeah.
because it gives me, I reflect on eras of my life,
Mhm.
as we all do, thinking about music back when we were
Yep.
young.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Chicago or Jimi Hendrix, or it means more to me now
Mhm.
than it
Oh, yeah.
did even back then. And so, you can relate music to a time of your life, and that happens to me all of the
Oh, it's a
time.
timestamp for a moment
Yeah,
in time. Oh, absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I get tons of inspiration from music. And I'll hear one of my favorite songs from yesteryear and go, "Oh man, that's so deserving of a painting."
Okay.
And in fact, Ride Like the Wind we were just looking at
Mhm.
was an old Christopher Cross
Oh,
tune.
yeah.
You remember Sailing?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I can remember exactly where I was when Sailing came on the radio, and I went, "Oh my god, I've never heard a song like that ever."
Yeah.
And I started following Christopher
Mhm.
Cross, and Ride Like the Wind is probably my second favorite song that he ever did.
Oh, yeah.
And so boom,
Yeah.
here it is, 40 years later or whatever it's been. And I'm creating now paintings around some of these
Mhm.
memories of songs that I heard.
When you so Ride Like the Wind pops into your head, and the images for Dan are strong, and they mean something. So you paint that painting, are there hopes of selling it? Do you even think about that in the process at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The marketing side of me also
Okay.
is intertwined with all of this. I mean, I understand there are artists that don't necessarily want to sell their work for
Yeah.
whatever reason. In my case, I am an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So I think like a marketing guy, but I also think about what it is that I love that's in my soul that needs to come out. So it's an expression of me for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But there are horse lovers out there. There are people that love
Yeah.
different images. There are people that love landscapes, and it's why I've ended up doing such a wide
Yeah.
scope of subject matter. Because and you were talking about commissions earlier. What happened when I started painting professionally, and then it's now been 6 years when I went full time into this, that people would keep coming up to me and going, "Hey, can you paint?
Mhm.
Can you paint a horse for me, or a herd of elephants, or a wine bottle with grapes, or
Yeah. Yeah.
me and my husband, in a Raleigh rickshaw?" I mean, I would get all kinds of crazy requests, and I wasn't smart enough to say no.
Well, you can't,
I
yeah,
just I
yeah.
just said, "I
N
yeah, I
not
can
in
I
year
can do
1.
that," and then you figure out how to do it. And, fortunately, my style is developed in such a way, it's more of an impressionistic style.
Yeah.
I don't try to be Vermeer or Rembrandt. I am not a
Okay.
realistic oil painter. Let me get down to every little detail. And by the way, I can't spend 6 months on doing a painting.
Well, we're gonna get to that, but
Yeah. So my style reflects my own personality,
yeah.
which I am not terribly patient. So I have to get into a painting and get after it.
Is that what contemporary for those of us who know little to nothing about the only thing I know about art is I know it when I see it, it jumps out at me. We're
right.
gonna talk about one here in a minute that has since the
Okay.
first time I saw it. Is it not detailed, not within the lines? Is it just kind of your personality
I don't know
on the
that
canvas?
contemporary covers a wide range of
Okay.
things. In my case, impressionism, and it's really a modern form of impressionism that's blended with abstract, is probably a more accurate way to describe my own style than just sort of saying contemporary. Contemporary is like, your painters that are alive right now that are your contemporaries that are
Okay.
painting. So
Alright.
there's different definitions, but I like to think mine is sort of more of a modern impressionism with a bent toward abstract. But yeah, spontaneity is part of that. Spontaneity and not being too
Yeah.
precise. Um, and sometimes that means, you're creating all kinds of abstracted backgrounds,
Yeah.
blurring the lines
Hey,
of
now, can you throw
realism.
that back up real quick? The right what I love about this is I the there I don't see a lot of hard lines, but what
Mhm.
my eye is drawn to this one, it just flows. I can just see I can see this horse running through the field just by looking at that painting for 2 seconds.
Right. And that's why those kinds of subjects, a running horse, I love movement in my paintings.
Mhm.
I love for people to see that movement and feel it. And sometimes that's textural, but blurring the lines is a big
Mhm.
part of that. And how you do that together with coloration, and using colors to bring about that
Yeah.
movement too is part of
Oh, yeah. Do
part of
you
it.
remember your first commission piece?
I do actually, and BNI had a huge
Yeah.
part of the launch of my
Mhm.
my art career. And I was already in BNI. I had a car business back then where I would find cars for people. That's why I joined BNI.
Oh, okay.
And that was one of my entrepreneurial things. I did that for about 5 years. And one day I walked in and said, "Hey guys, my business has changed. I'm now a professional artist." I
Makes sense, right?
I was just getting going. And everybody looked at me kind of, "Oh, okay." They were already, my friends
Yeah.
and referring business to me, and great business friends, and many of them I played golf with, et cetera, et cetera. And And before the end of the meeting, I had 2 commissions.
Really?
Yeah. I had Paul Lindsay,
Mhm.
you'll know, Randy Waller, both were friends of mine, and they said, "Oh, well, I need a painting for my office. I need a painting for
Yeah.
my house." Boom, I was in business. And there's nothing like a little bit of success to start breeding
Oh,
success.
yes. Yep.
And I firmly believe in that whole momentum
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
thing. And that I give credit not only those 2 guys, but Sabrina and
Mhm.
many others.
Oh,
And
she's bought, yeah,
yeah,
half her house is filled with your
yeah,
paintings.
and those are VIP. Those are
Sabrina Shell,
VIP
Dan, thanks you
collectors,
very
right?
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
When do you want a customer coming to you saying, "I want specifically this," or "This is who I am"? What do you
How
need to
does that
hear from a
work?
client? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I learned that long ago that it's nice to have liberty when and freedom when you're painting.
Yeah.
So I like to know what the subject is. Um, I like to know the information, the basic information about what a client wants. But hopefully, they've chosen me because they like my style of painting, and they're still giving me the freedom to sort of create how it's all going to look. So hopefully, not too long of a checklist,
Yeah.
but enough information that gives me
Like, if
the
they're
bones.
outdoorsy, they love boats and water,
Right.
that's enough for you to go with.
Absolutely.
You did let me see if I remember this right. You did a portrait of a family, a painting. I remember I was there about a year ago. It's
Okay.
like mom and dad, was it 2 or 3 kids?
Oh, well, I
And
think
I
if I know what you're talking about, it was a collector of mine out in Arizona, and it was he and his wife's 25th anniversary is what I'm thinking of.
okay.
And he also asked me to time lapse video it. So he wanted to be able to see
Which
the
you do
process.
on Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
so I time lapse videoed it and did. I don't do a lot of portrait work,
yeah,
but he loved my style,
yeah.
and so I already knew that, and so that made that okay to do.
And
And
if you wanna see some cool time lapse, go, hit Dan up on Facebook, Dan Campbell Art, Dan Campbell.
yeah, my fan page is Dan Campbell, contemporary artist.
Contemporary. Go to that,
Yeah,
and I don't think you do that time lapse on every painting,
not
but
everything.
you have a
Yeah,
few of them they can watch and pull up. It's really cool to watch because
sure.
I don't know, and that's another one of my questions. Somebody calls you today and says, "Hey, here's what I want," and you
Mhm.
agree, everybody understands what you want, and your window's good to start it. Is there an average length of time from start to finish?
Every painting is different, Mike, but I would say probably, and it depends on the size of the
Mhm.
painting. That has a lot to do with it. How
Yeah.
much paint you're needing to put on a canvas. But most smaller works, 24 by 30, 30 by 40, a couple days, couple 2 to 3 days,
Oh, really?
couple 2 to 3 days,
Okay.
and that does. And I'm doing other things too because sometimes it's letting layers dry and coming back to a painting, and you're working on something else in between.
Can you do 2
Yeah.
paintings at once?
Oh yeah.
Kinda like writing 2 songs at once? Can you
Yeah, yeah, and in
Okay,
fact, that's much more efficient because again, you sometimes you need to set something aside for a while,
okay,
let it dry, and go, make something else happen.
okay.
So I
Is it
usually have 2 or 3 things happening
Okay,
at different stages. When you get into the final 25% of
yeah,
the painting, then you're like you're really hardcore focused on
okay,
that piece.
right.
Yeah,
Is there an ultimate setting, daylight, music, morning, for your ultimate creativity to come out?
morning is always, you're fresh. You got
Yeah.
that cup of coffee you had, and you good night's sleep, hopefully. And you're fresh, and
Yeah,
that's always like go time.
okay.
You know, in the afternoon you can have a little cold brew and start it all
I'm
over
with
again.
you. It's a
So
whole different painting after that first
right,
brew on the back
exactly,
deck, and it's 72 degrees outside.
right, yeah. I don't do well late at night. Yeah,
I would imagine that,
yeah,
and I would imagine with creative people, I would imagine there are some painters that only paint at midnight because that's who they are and that's how they're
sure,
wired,
sure. Everybody's
but they
different,
sleep till 1:30 in the
right?
afternoons.
Now I have painted all night one time. My daughter calls me the day before Michael Bolton concert in
Yes,
Wilmington.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember
This is
that
one of
story.
2 stories. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna ask you
and
about
she
it, okay.
calls me and I'm painting the bathroom. And she says, "Dad, Michael Bolton is on tomorrow night in Wilmington. Can you paint a painting of Michael Bolton for his birthday that I want to give him?" And I dropped everything and painted all night long and met them halfway between Raleigh and Wilmington to give them the painting to give to
Too
Michael Bolton.
funny.
And of course, he posted it all over social media.
I know, that's
and
huge,
it
yeah.
was a
Yeah.
blast. It was a
Well,
blast.
and while we're on that, you presented one to Don McLean.
I did.
Yeah, so tell everybody about that
Oh
story.
gosh.
That's cool.
Well, last year, the American Pie
Oh,
painting.
and I did not grab that graphic.
That's okay.
I apologize. When you go to Dan's Facebook page, that's the image. That's the header image at the top of your Facebook
Yeah.
page.
Oh yeah.
Cool. I should have grabbed that, but anyway.
That's all right. Yeah. The American Pie painting came around because a client was building this big $1 million home and they wanted some pop culture art. And they said, Dan, can you come up with something that's going to look really cool, be a conversation piece in our house? And I got to brainstorming with some buddies and some of my music buddies, and they wanted some iconic images. And so, when you think of icons, especially in the music world, you think of the Beatles,
Yep.
You think of Elvis. And so we came up with this whole concept around Don McLean's famous song, one of the most sung songs of all time, American Pie, 8 minutes and 33 seconds long.
Yep.
And they wanted a big painting. So it ended up being 10 feet long, 5 feet high. And it had Elvis and Buddy Holly, because of course that's how the song started.
Yep.
The Beatles, Mick Jagger, Janis Joplin, Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Were all in this painting, and it was just this cool thing, and it was so much fun. And I video documented the whole thing, and we ended up having a party around it. Well, fast forward, that all ended up great. And fast forward, Don McLean was in Wilmington like a month ago.
Yeah.
And so I found out Don McLean was there, and we took a print of that painting and gave it to Don after the concert. He took another one and signed it for me and gave it to me. So I met Don McLean and told him about the whole thing, and he got a big kick out of it. So
wow.
So it still lives on. American Pie. Still
one of the classics. Yeah. So 2 questions on that. Is this the painting you had to get Jared, the moving truck, to move?
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had
Jared and his dad Cliff.
Crabtree Moving actually had to bring one of their trucks.
Right.
The painting was so big.
Yeah. Thank God they were helping me, because I was in trouble without them.
Your BMW is not going to fit in
No. We had to rent a truck.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then the second question on that is, how do you go about making a print of an original?
Well, I've got an excellent printer here locally over by the airport. Southport Graphics.
Oh yeah.
Is the name of the printer. So hats off to them, because they do phenomenal work for me. They do all my local prints. I have an online Fine Art America. You can get just about everything there if you're not living in the local area. But if you want a limited edition signed print or something like that, people usually come to me directly for that, and I get my prints from them.
Do you physically take the painting to Southport?
Or sometimes it gets scanned, and sometimes I've learned how to take photographs of my own work. I've done a little research on it. A lot of artists do this, and if you have a decent enough camera, and you have the right atmospheric conditions and you set it up correctly, you can take a pretty darn good picture of the art that is superlative enough for prints.
Okay.
If you're doing something where you're selling millions and millions of pieces, you might scan it.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Anyway,
I was wondering how that works.
So,
yeah. So if you could hear one concert, either Don McLean or Michael Bolton. Now, they both know you're famous. They love your work. Which one you paying for?
Well, personally,
Don McLean.
Personally, Don McLean. Yeah.
But your daughter, Michael Bolton, right?
Yeah. Lindsay would pick Michael Bolton. Yeah. But there would be some other ones.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, one of the funniest things Don said to me when I presented the painting to him, and it's got all these great characters, and people that he wrote the song about.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't know that the symbolic references in that song are these people in the painting, And first thing he said was, "Where am I? How come I'm not in the painting?" So, Don, it was about your song, but I sung the song.
How did you get backstage to do that? How did all that happen?
Well, I give props to my son-in-law for that. Mike, my daughter's husband, and he's done that a number of times for concerts in Wilmington. He's got a connection at the Wilson Center, and he's an actor, so a lot of people know him.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, he just a new movie that just came out, Overcomer. He's got a pretty big. Mike Holmes is his name.
All right.
And great guy. All my kids married well.
Yes. You like that.
And
yeah.
he's my favorite son-in-law.
There you go.
Because he's my only
Oh,
son-in-law. But anyway, I digress.
No, we're here with Dan Campbell, Dan Campbell Art. You can go to dancampbellart.com and look at all his paintings. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. They give their clients an edge over the competition. They will make you stand out in your industry, no doubt about that. They built my website. They're helping me grow my personal brand as well, and I can attest to the work they do. They will increase that by generating leads with SEO and social media presence, then convert those leads into clients and more money for you. Drago founded the company in 2009. They work with anybody inside the United States, and I'm sure he probably has a client or two in Europe we haven't talked about yet, but Drago will take good care of you. So go to oakcitytech.com, tell them we sent you, and they will certainly help you. We've gone 31 minutes, and I should have brought this up earlier because you and I share the love of our grandkids. And I find anytime I can bring in Oliver, my grandson, into the conversation, I do. And he's finally walking. He decided, okay, it's been a year. I'm going to walk now. So we're getting all this cool video. You have grandkids. Okay, first of all, I always ask the story. Your wife, Wally, how did you meet? And do you both tell it the same way?
In the way that Wally and I met?
Yeah. Do you both tell the story the same way?
Yes. Yes.
You're sure?
It's undoubtedly has to be the same way.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very, very clear. We were in high school. So, we were high school sweethearts, and it all started. I had a buddy in high school who I occasionally got in trouble with. And I won't go into those details. But he called me up one day and said, I'd like to, hey, you want to go to a party? And I said, are there going to be girls there? And, as any high school boy first thinks of. And he said, yeah, there's going to be girls there. So I said, I'm there. We went to the party, and he neglected to tell me that it happened to be his Sunday school teacher's house. Ooh. And it was the Sunday school class's party that was taking place, of which Wally was in that group, along with a number of other very attractive young ladies. So he didn't lie on that particular account. In fact, Wally was dating somebody else at the time, and I ended up dating one of her friends for 4 months or so.
Okay.
And that didn't work out. And about the same time that didn't work out, Wally's didn't work out. And we started connecting. And literally, she's 15 years old. I'm 16. So we're very young. But I grew up really fast, as I said earlier.
You moved all over, yeah.
And so anyway, we started dating. I was already driving. And so that's kind of where it happened. And she would absolutely say the exact same story. She'll tell you she remembers the moment I came walking down the stairs because I had good-looking legs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much
when
now.
You got it,
Not
you got
so
it.
much now.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
But the story's not about now. It's about back then.
Right. That's where it all started.
When did you know this was it for you with Wally?
That
was that early on?
It's really crazy because I remember 2 weeks after we were dating that, and you got to realize, Wally and her family were like a godsend to me, because my family was like all over the place. Wally's family, her dad was a CIA agent.
Oh.
They were church. They were church members. I was not, and they were the picture of American stability.
Okay.
I was the hobo, and but somehow I won her heart and her family's as well. And 2 weeks later, I was waxing boats with my nephew at Columbia Island Marina near Washington, D.C. I mean, you can see the monument in the background and all of that. It was my brother-in-law's boat. And we were having lunch, and I remember saying to my nephew, you know what? I think I'm going to marry this girl.
Nice.
This is 2 weeks after we started dating. He thought I was nuts. He thought I was nuts. But
because what guy hadn't said
here
that?
we are. It's it'll be 44 years being married in December. So
oh, yeah. Well done.
Crazy. Hey, I found a good one. I took her off the market before anybody else could get her.
And you think it's going to work. You're feeling good about this. You got to 44 years. So you're like, what? It's got potential. So, kids, we'll get to the grandkids in a second, but tell me about your kids.
3 great kids. I mean, we just absolutely struck gold. Lindsay is my oldest. In fact, we just celebrated her birthday this past weekend. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But Luke, my middle son, he's our brainiac that lives in Richmond. He's got two of our granddaughters. Lindsay's got three of our grandkids. And then Colin, our youngest, our baby, who's 30, just moved to Nashville recently and is married to Kat, and she's an absolute sweetheart and no kids yet. They're bringing up the rear. But yeah, we struck gold. And they all love each other. They're all best friends with each other.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so, yeah, there's just like we all love music, there's plenty of harmony all across the board.
Oh, cool.
So
I love the way you tell stories about your grandkids, and they have to be 3 years old to come spend the weekend. Is that the routine when all the grandkids get together?
Yeah. Well, 3 years ago, Wally and I started Grandma and Bebop. They call me Bebop. Call it GB Camp.
Yep.
And so it started with just the 3-year-olds 3 years ago. And they would come and stay for 3 days. And this year was the first time all 5 of them came.
Nice.
And boy, we had a house full. We had to recruit Mary Beth, my wife's sister, to, because the numbers were just not in our favor, But we had an absolute ball, and they're so much fun. They're just super sweet kids.
And you have a couple pictures posted of them painting, or at least have the brush in their hand.
Art class is one of the things we do at summer camp. I mean, we keep them busy from one thing to the next, and art camp is a big part of it. And they're loving it. They, like Picasso said, when we're young, when we're kids, we're all artists.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is, how do we remain one when we become an adult?
Yeah.
And these kids are all over doing creative stuff.
I just remember with chalk on the sidewalk or the driveway, just even doing that, whatever, drawing a Foursquare or just a picture of something or a logo. Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, and I know they look forward to that coming.
Oh, yeah. They put on a singing show on our back porch. We did dance videos. I did a dance video some time ago. It's on my YouTube site.
Okay.
And so I showed them that, and I said, okay, now you got to create your own dance video.
Oh, yeah.
And so we put on, Happy, the song Happy, and they just went to town. So it was fun. They're a ball.
If you could do a sitting portrait of any musician from any time, anywhere, who would you want to paint? Live.
Wow. Live?
They're sitting there.
Ooh.
You're painting them.
Ooh.
You can talk to them. You can put on their music. You can make it a day. But who are you drawn to?
Well, James Taylor is one I haven't done yet.
Okay.
And he was one of my faves back in the 70s. So JT, especially if he'll play a little music for me while I'm painting him.
I'm sure probably
if he'll play Rainy Day Man or Gone to Carolina, one of those old tunes. If I'm chilling, we love putting on James Taylor. If we want to boogie a little bit, and I haven't done Bruce Springsteen yet either, but he's got a recent movie. There's a movie that's come out recently,
a Broadway show. Yeah,
is it Blinded by the Light? I think that may be the name of that movie. But so I may do might do Springsteen also.
Who was your first concert?
James Taylor.
When and where?
This is probably 75, Merriweather Post Pavilion, Columbia, Maryland.
Okay.
And it rained. And we were on the lawn.
Naturally, yeah.
And it was the coolest, most memorable concert ever, because James Taylor, he's out there waving to everybody out, soaking wet, dancing in the mud. And he said, I'm going to play every song I know related to rain. Rainy Day Man, Shower the People. I mean, every song he could come up with, and every time he would come up with one, man, we just were hooting and hollering. It was great.
I'm glad he enjoyed that too. That's a pretty neat twist on that.
Yeah.
And do you have this painting of the lady with the violin? Okay. What is this one? Love this. Again, I don't know art, but that just jumped out at me.
Well, thank you for picking out an oil piece too.
Yep.
This was.
And by the way, I can't take credit for that. I didn't know that was an oil piece. I just liked it.
Oh, but of course,
you have no clue.
Come on, you're so refined. You could have gone with that, Mike.
No. Couldn't have
Um,
sold that, so yeah.
yeah, this is a piece, of course, it bears in mind again my love for music. I'm
Yep.
not a violin player, but and this actually is not a particular celebrity, which I do a lot of celebrity pieces, as you know, but um, uh, Kiki D,
Yep.
back in the day,
With
did a
Elton
song.
John, yeah.
Yeah, she did "Don't Go Breaking My Heart,"
Mhm.
right, with Elton
Yep.
John. This one is called "The Music in Me."
Mhm.
I got the music
Music in
in
me. Yep.
me. And so this was kind of what the inspiration was for this particular painting because I feel like this violinist is kind of she's into it.
Yeah.
She's dancing her music, she's feeling it, she's got the music in her. And so I tried to, I'm listening to this music as I'm painting, and this is the feeling I got from
Yeah.
it.
What I loved about it is there's real no body definition. I can see the blue dress, but I just the way you painted that and with the colors, I can just feel emotion from her in the middle of a concert hall and just going at it. So
Cool.
I love that
Well,
one.
good.
That's
I'm glad
always
I
jumped out
reached
at
at
me.
least one
You
person with
did,
this
yeah.
painting. Good.
You did. I don't
That's
know what it
good.
is about. Like I said, with art, I don't know what it is, but when I see one, it catches my eye. Was that where's my list here? Oh yeah. How do you know when a painting is finished?
Man, that's a fantastic question. And it was one that plagues a lot of artists,
Yeah.
like and so I try to be really careful not to overpaint because definition for me, too much definition is the enemy of abstraction sometimes. And so that long flowing
Mhm.
stuff, if I try to put slippers on her and
Yes. Yep.
feet on her and all of that stuff, it would have actually taken away from the
Oh, would it
painting.
change the whole painting? Oh,
Right,
sure.
right.
Yep.
So sometimes you know immediately when you're done and everything works and you feel like it's flowing, you feel like it looks complete. Your own eye is the litmus test if you'd hang it on your wall. If I'd hang it on
Oh,
my own
okay.
wall, if I'd own my own painting, that's passing the litmus test for me. Um, and sometimes you have to let it set.
Okay.
Sometimes you
Yep.
don't know right away.
Yeah.
So what you do is you let it set and come back to it.
Have you finished a painting and looked at it and go, "I'm not selling that. I'm keeping that for me."
Hmm. Well, I've come close. I've come close, but and people ask me that, do you sometimes have trouble letting stuff go?
Mm.
And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do what I do that I love it when someone else feels the same connection to a painting. And if they wanted enough to buy it and take it home and hang it up, I feel like it's going to the right person.
Mhm.
I feel like that's who
Yeah.
I created it for.
I can see that.
And so I don't really have a piece where I go, now my wife might tell you different.
Well,
She might say,
yeah.
I'd like to keep that,
Yeah.
In
Well,
fact, I've sold some stuff she wanted to
yeah,
keep.
yeah. While she wasn't home one day, it's like, "Oh, that's right. I forgot about that." And that leads me into my next question with Wally. What's her role in your painting? Quality control? "Hey, you're done. You're missing
Mm.
something." What's her
Well,
role
she's
in this?
always, as she says, my best fan and my best critic,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
It's
So, that's what spouses do for you,
yep.
in all walks of life, right?
Oh, yeah.
She's an editor by trade. She's
Oh, my
she's a
wife, same
professional
thing.
editor,
Yep.
and so she edits my speech on many occasion, Yeah.
Okay. You
In the
mean
middle of the
you mean
sentence.
she tells you when to shut up? Is
Yeah,
that when you say
exactly.
editing your
Yeah,
speech? Okay.
that too. I resemble that remark, but anyway. So anyway, she is that. She's definitely my biggest fan and biggest critic, but she also, when we do festivals and things,
Mhm.
she goes with me.
Yeah.
And she'll be the first to tell you she didn't realize how much fun we would have with this together.
Okay.
And so I try to do 2 or 3 or 4 maybe festivals a year.
Yep.
And we've got Durham Center Fest
A
coming up
big one coming up, yeah.
next month on the 20th and 21st. So
Yeah.
anybody out there, come on downtown to the streets of Durham and say hello. We'll be down there. Wally will be there too.
There you go.
And
And we're gonna
so,
get into a couple more of those. I wanna get to the last painting, but,
okay.
we're here with Dan Campbell, dancampbellart.com. Triangle BNI show today is brought to you by Oak City Tech, where they help you reach your goals with proven technologies for increasing traffic, leads, and sales and help you grow your business. Give them a buzz. Go to their website, Triangle, geez, oakcitytech.com. Tell Drago we sent you and we said hi, and he will certainly take good care of you. Amnon, if you can put up the last painting, love this one. Just this needs no explanation. If anybody's anybody, they're going to know who that is. Again, that speaks to your love of music because I know
Absolutely.
that when and this is your second one you've done of Freddie
That's right.
Mercury. Okay.
Yep.
Was this one after the movie came out?
It was, and it had a lot to do with that. Bohemian Rhapsody coming out this past year was such a great movie, and so many people connected with Freddie and his music. And of course, he died way before his time. And the first painting I did, goodness gracious, I couldn't believe the reaction to it. It had more than double the likes and followers on Facebook than I've had for any other painting I've ever done. I had 8 offers on the painting by the end of the day
Oh
that I
my.
posted it. And I had a friend and art fan of mine tell me, Dan, you ought to do a painting of Freddie. And when people start talking to me about stuff like that, I start listening. And I had a number of other people within a couple of week periods say the same thing to me, and I'm like, okay, this is a message.
Oh yeah.
And I believe in that sort of stuff from time to time. That sometimes things happen when they're supposed to
Universe
happen.
is saying,
Yeah,
"Hello, Dan."
exactly. And so I painted that first one, and that one went so fast that and that one was called "We Are the Champions," and I was just totally engrossed in Freddie's music, and Queen was such a fabulous band, and then this
Yep.
was The Show Must Go On. This particular piece, it still is available, by the way.
There you go.
I've sold a ton of prints, but this original piece, it's 30
Okay.
by 40. It is still available.
Yeah.
So
He is when you look at regardless of what music you like and who you think is best, as far as lead men go, don't know if there's a better one than him in all the land.
might agree with you in terms of a lead singer
Yeah.
with a 5-octave range with his vocals.
Like a master's degree and all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, very talented,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
the range he
absolutely.
had, but just his presence on the stage, because when people say front man, I immediately think of Jagger as
Sure.
well.
Sure.
But just somebody you go, "Oh, I know who that is," just because you
Yeah.
saw him on stage.
Right.
But
Yeah, just so
Yeah.
charismatic.
Yeah.
Incredibly charismatic, and loved the audience and just connected with the audience.
Yeah.
So,
And the
amazing.
stuff they wrote, I mean, it was operatic music. It wasn't hit back then, and they made it.
Well, yeah. Watching the movie, have you seen the movie?
I have not yet. I was gonna ask
Oh.
if you liked it.
Oh, absolutely. It cracked my top 10 movies of all time
Okay.
for sure. And yeah, they blew everybody's mind with that song Bohemian
Yes.
Rhapsody was covering so many genres of music.
What was this? It was, is it Remy Malik played Freddie?
That's right. Yeah.
He sang, God, help me with this story if I can get it right. He sang one of these songs in front of either the Queen band or another legendary band, and they were just blown away by how he sang that song.
Yeah, I think Rami did most of the rehearsal scenes
Yeah.
in the movie, if I remember reading this correctly and from watching the movie. But they actually had a lot of authentic Freddie
Oh, yeah.
Queen music
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah, and I liked the movie because the other band members signed off on it. So that told me, okay, this is gonna be a real movie. Yeah, which I
Absolutely.
liked a lot.
Those are some of my favorite pieces to do.
Oh, I know they
You know,
are.
when they bring
Yeah.
when I'm able to act, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin.
Oh.
I've done
Oh, the Aretha
Willie
Franklin one.
Nelson,
Yeah.
Aretha. I've done tons of them.
Yeah.
And all started by people asking me if I would do them.
Mhm.
And in the beginning, wasn't thinking I was going to do, sort of more trendy toward realism type stuff.
That's life stuff, isn't it?
And yeah, and it's just been a blast.
And I'm just stunned nobody's asked you for a Weird Al Yankovic painting. Somebody will one day.
Somebody probably
They will. If Amnon comes to you and says, "I want a painting of Freddie Mercury," you finish that, and then 3 weeks later, I come to you and I say, "I love that painting." Would you I don't want to print, I want a real painting. Would you repaint that or say, "Mike, let me adjust it a little bit, or let me try something different"?
And I do similar paintings sometimes, but I always change everything up because every person, if they're getting an original, they deserve it to be an original.
Okay.
Not a copy of something else. And if you want that, then get a print of it.
Yeah.
But, no, every piece is original. Everything is always going to be, different than something they've seen before. But there's so many different photos of, say, Freddie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the reference photos and that kind of stuff that are out there. And that's as an artist, everything starts with either if you're doing a model in person, that's great. I don't always have that opportunity. So good reference photos. And of
Oh.
course, now in today's internet
Oh, yeah.
age, we have copious
Yeah, you can Google,
quantities
yeah,
of
beach
reference photos.
scene or
Yeah,
yachts in the yeah. Oh,
right.
yeah.
So many of us that are artists, we're taking compilation of things, and it's not just one photo, but it's a compilation of,
Yeah.
I want to create something new and different, not just even paint a photo. But I might use 20 photos, the combination of 20 photos,
Oh, okay.
to sort of get the feeling of how an artist is executing a song, or how they're
Yeah.
seen.
We're talking earlier about how do you know when a painting is finished? Do you when you have nailed the painting, you know it, don't you? When you look at it, go, got it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, there's a moment
Yeah.
when you go, I don't think I'm going to be able to improve on this, and I'm really loving it.
Okay.
So that's the thing that stirs within you that goes, man, I'd hang this on my wall.
Okay.
I feel like this is going to get a good reaction from people. It's getting a reaction from me. Now, it doesn't always get the same reaction from my wife,
Yeah.
because she has a different lens,
Exact. But that's okay.
and
Yeah.
everybody has a different
Oh,
lens.
yeah.
So even that doesn't always tell you how fast something's going to sell, or if
Right.
it will sell.
Mhm.
You hope it does, and you hope to please a lot of people. But if you please yourself first, that's the first,
Yeah.
the first litmus test.
We're talking earlier about some of the art shows you do, and I know you're very involved in the local art scene. How important is that for you as an artist to be involved and give back in that?
Oh, absolutely. And I do a lot of charity work. But in the absolute in the art scene itself, I'm on the board of directors for Cary
Mhm.
Visual Art, which is a nonprofit in Cary that's been around for 20 years. Um, and I haven't been there 20 years, but I've probably been involved three, 3 or 4 years. But their focus is on bringing more public art to the table in town, and to expose more art to more people,
Mhm.
and also to help raise money for scholarships for young
Yeah.
rising artists. So that's been really awesome. But there's lots of charity work. I'm doing a collaborative right now with Life Experiences, which employs disabled people,
Oh, okay.
and we did a little painting session with them a week ago,
Oh,
and they've got a
nice.
gala coming up next week in which I will finish their painting, and they will auction it at their gala. So that was kind of a cool deal.
You're gonna finish their
They
painting
started it.
on site or at home?
No, I'll finish it at home.
Okay.
And then the
Ah.
auctioneer will actually auction the
Oh,
paintings
very
off, with
nice.
all of the funds going to Life Experiences
Huh.
that really rewards and helps these disabled folks find work, meaningful work to do,
Wow.
where they actually get paid.
Have you ever finished another painting like that in that setup where somebody started and you finished one?
I think this is a
Oh,
first.
very cool.
Yeah, it's a first, and I got asked by Becca Smith. Hey, Becca,
Yep. Hey, Becca. Yep.
out there, who she's with, Smith& Smith
Mhm.
CPAs, and she's on the board of directors with Life Experiences,
Oh,
and
very
she came
cool.
to me and said, "Dan, I have this idea."
Yeah.
And,
It's different. I
and
like
it
it.
and it's just cool. We had so much fun helping them paint and seeing the smiles on their faces as they're, slapping paint up on the canvas, and,
Oh, very cool.
it was great.
And it's those little things like that that make your day. I
Yeah.
knowing you, I know that's a big deal to
Oh,
you.
yeah. Yeah,
You
I
could
feel
care less what the painting looks like, just the joy on their face, right?
yeah. Well, again, it's one of those things where you feel thankful that you get to do what you
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
and so this is just part of, sharing that with other people.
Of all your favorite songs in all the world,
Oh, Lord.
all right? If you could have written any one of those songs, which one would you have wanted to have written?
Mike, you're killing me.
Hey, man.
You're killing me.
I told you I don't have to prep you with any questions because you are the man answering questions. So
Oh, golly.
give me a couple then. Can narrow it down to
Okay,
two.
okay.
One, give me a couple that you wish, God, I wish I'd written that song.
Hmm. Wow. Man, that's one that would keep me up at night, literally.
Was not intended for that, but
Mm, wow. Gee, that is a tough one. Yeah,
is there a Hendrix song?
The Jeopardy music wouldn't be a Hendrix song, probably. I'm a little more poppy probably at heart than he's a little more, rock. rock.
Alright.
He was an unbelievable guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I'll tell you, um, it might not be that popular right now, but there's two that come to mind. Um, and not with a little bit of sadness, and that is Eric Clapton's
Yeah.
song "Tears in Heaven."
Oh, that is
Just poured right out
yes.
of his
Yep.
soul
After his son, right? After his son died?
after his
Yep.
son died,
Yep.
and that changed his life.
Mhm. Oh, very much so.
Um, so that song, it's so and the guitar work in
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
oh my goodness
Yeah, he's
gracious,
legendary anyways.
it's incredible. This another song I would think of would be Elton John's, and it would be the duet with Elton John and, the Australian, uh, I'm blanking it right now. I'll think of it after we're probably
We're
done
done, yeah,
talking.
you'd be driving home like, "Dang it, guy or
But "Don't Let
girl?"
the Sun Go Down on Me."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ooh,
Um,
yeah. Okay.
George Michael.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you. But their duet of that song
Okay.
is so powerful. And Elton's another movie that came out this year, but just
Yeah.
another unbelievable songwriter along with his lyricist,
Oh, Bernie Taupin.
Bernie
Oh,
Taupin.
massive. Yeah.
Those
And
two
you've got a
together.
couple of Elton paintings on your website. I
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
If you could have played in any band ever, which one would you wanna play in?
Wow. Wow. Goodness gracious. Um,
I don't have many artists on the show, man. These questions have been
okay.
bottled
If
up.
I could have played, um, Chicago,
Yeah.
probably my favorite 70s band.
Okay.
Now, I'm no Peter Cetera,
Okay.
though.
Few are. He can hit that range, that note, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he had a really special voice, and they're still going, they're not
Still touring, yeah.
yeah, they're
Oh,
not
yeah.
quite as good as they used to be, although another band that I'll probably see on my birthday, November 20th, hint, hint, presents,
Yeah.
permitted,
Accepted, yes, yeah.
and is the Doobie Brothers,
Oh,
and, they'll
that was my first concert here in Raleigh at Reynolds Coliseum in 1975.
cool.
And I didn't know I'm a late bloomer on a lot of things, and I've admitted this as I get older. I had no idea what a doobie was, had never smoked and wasn't even any of that, and so I'm with my date, and some guy did one of these to me and handed me that, and I looked at her, I'm like, "What's that?" She rolled her eyes, she goes, "That's a joint." I'm like, "Okay, I'll pass that on," but
Mhm.
no idea what the doobies were. Love their music to this day, so I'm with you on
And
that,
I
so
will tell you, they're one band that they sound nearly as good
Oh, yeah.
as they
Yep,
ever did. A lot
yep.
of these bands, as we were talking about, are getting
Mhm.
older and their voices are getting older and
Yep.
wearing out and stuff. But the Doobies,
Oh, yeah.
they're
Okay.
still
Oh, yeah. Oh,
really high quality,
I would pay to
high
go see them.
quality.
Do you have a list of paintings or ideas you want to get at
Mhm.
that you
Long
just
list.
either time or 7 people call you yesterday for commission paintings and move those down? So
Yep.
you always have a
Yeah.
pipeline of paintings that
Yeah. Every time something comes up, I'll put it on my list.
how do
And
you how do you describe that or note that with that thought, "Oh, it's this image, but with this twist?"
well, it comes in a lot of ways. Sometimes if it's a song or if it's something a family member causes me to think about, or a phrase that I
Okay.
hear. Recently I did Tiny Dancer. In fact, it just sold this past week. But there's a lyric in the song "Tiny Dancer in My Hand," so I actually
Yeah.
painted a hand with a dancer inside, dancing on top of the hand. And so sometimes it just it'll come and it'll stay with me either for a while or it'll be a quick thought. Somebody will say you need to paint Freddie,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden somebody else says it and somebody else says it, and I'll start thinking about it. And then sometimes I'll wake up. Don't talk about
Oh,
it being an
yeah.
early riser.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go, "Oh my gosh, I've got to paint that." And your brain's working even while you're asleep.
Do you have a notepad on your nightstand?
I don't, but I'll quickly downstairs get the cup of coffee and write it down. But I do have a long list, and
Oh, I bet, yeah.
and you have to sort of space these things out between the commission work that you do, and
Yep.
that's about 50% of what I do is by commission. So
Okay. If you go to dancampbellart.com, you can hit Dan Campbell what's Facebook post again? Dan Campbell
contemporary
Contemporary Art.
artist.
Okay, go on there. Where are you gonna be? You mentioned the Durham show. Where else are you gonna be? Where else could people find you out and about?
Well, I do. gallery tours in my home gallery anytime
Okay.
by appointment. I've got a Capital City Club exhibition, but that's probably a member only thing
Ooh,
in November
I know a
for
member. I may
Capital
check
City.
that out. Yeah.
Yeah, Capital
Yeah.
City Club, downtown Raleigh. I may do the Wake Forest. There's a exhibition in late October. There'll be more information coming out about that. And then every December, I have our annual holiday art
Mhm.
showcase,
Yep.
which is the first weekend, the 7th and 8th, I think, this year in December,
Very cool.
which everybody is invited to come by during the weekend. And we
Yep.
have refreshments
Oh,
and
yeah.
live music too playing, and
Gotta have music with you.
all my latest stuff going
Yeah,
on. So,
good deal.
yeah.
Well, we've enjoyed it very much. Like I said, you're the first artist on the show, so I had all these questions bottled up about artwork and everything. Very happy that you were on the show. Again, go check Dan out at dancampbellart.com. I know you're going to see something you're going to want to buy, but more importantly, call him for a commission piece. He's got 5 grandkids he wants to keep spoiling, so a commission piece is way better than a printed piece. But either way, you win, and we will see you next week on Triangle BNI.
Thank you.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.